Welcome to Campfire Curmudgeon. I'm your host, Heidi Schilling, and with me, as always, is
Nicholas Jones.
and
Justin Wade.
Woo! Hey guys, it's been
Hi.
Hey.
Been a hot minute.
It's been about 6 months.
Yeah, it's been a little
Just
bit.
that. Best of intentions, How's everybody?
Well,
doing?
it's also been a year. I think everybody can acknowledge that. It's the year 2020 if you're listening to this in the future.
Yeah. I mean, you'd think that I would have had like more time with everything being shut down. Not so much. It didn't happen that way.
Didn't work out.
I ended up with a lot of less time. A lot of other things.
Global crises create, national crises create, local crises, and then we all have to deal. And then sometimes those things, and then on top of that, just regular life, sadness stuff happens. Like our last episode was a passing of our previous guest host, Chris, and
the producer of the Papago Podcast Network. Yep.
And rest in peace. And he hasn't visited me. I don't know if he's visited you guys. Well, I hope he's gone on to his. I'm hoping he's gone on to his great reward in the cinema in the sky. And we're back talking about our favorite subject.
Lizard people.
All right.
No, the supernatural.
So, what are we talking about today, Nicholas?
Today we are doing a special episode on the two supernaturally episodes of Netflix's resurgence. How do you want to describe it?
A new season of Unsolved Mysteries.
A new season of Unsolved Mysteries after like 26 years. I can't remember what these movies are called when they have
Robert Stackhouse. Was that his name?
No, Robert Stack. You're close. Stackhouse. Stackhouse is the name of.
I got a phone call and it blew up my ears.
It blew up your what?
It blew up my ears. It was extremely loud.
Okay.
What about you look so horrified?
For our audience who's not watching us on Discord,
I danced with my face.
Sure did.
No, Robert Stack was one of the hosts of Unsolved Mysteries and Revival. That's what I'm thinking of. Basically, when a show goes dormant, but they still have the rights, sometimes a media company will be like, hey, let's look in the bottom of this barrel and scrape some of the bottom off and see if we can make a new thing out of it. And sometimes it's crap, and then sometimes it's really good, like they hand it off to talented people. And since true crime is a phenomenon right now in media, and
it is,
and it's resurgent.
I'm like, when has it not been?
When has it not been? You're not wrong.
I don't know if maybe it's just because I've always liked true crime, but I don't feel like it was ever something I had to like search really hard for.
But right now it feels like it's in the main, like basic people are into it. Not like you've always been into it.
My grandparents, like,
yes, I would.
Yeah, my grandma would eat.
It is a basic white bitch thing to love murderers right now.
Right. And so it's kind of like, well, remember when vampires had the crest of that wave and that crashed, like I'm sure who's wearing the Dracula shirt tonight.
Dracula sucks.
Dracula sucks.
Dracula sucks.
That's like saying vacuums suck and you can't tell whether they're for or against it. Or if somebody sprays a swastika on Donald Trump's star on Hollywood Boulevard, you can't tell whether it's a protester or a supporter. But anyway, basically, like these things come and go. The zeitgeist happens. At first it was zombies and then it's vampires. And like The Walking Dead is still trying to, beat that dead horse by keeping the zombie thing alive. And then like Korea has done their stuff with like Train to Busan and Train to Busan 2, which have kind of right. But they've kind of reemerged. But what Unsolved Mysteries has done is they've revamped and had Netflix production teams doing episodes now. And I think the first volume was either at the beginning of the year, and the second volume was
on
that
Netflix it's put as like season 1 and season 2. But if you look it up,
if you Google it, it'll be like season 26.
Yeah, I know. I think it's season 15 or something. I don't know. So it's supposed to fall in line with the rest of them. What they've done a little bit differently this time is they don't all have a host anymore. There's no host with this new Netflix series, but it's kind of nice because we get to focus a little bit more on the actual stories at hand, and I think they're very well done. And so far, they've had a good mix of, you know, your normal true crime mystery,
unsolved mysteries,
yeah,
and then
paranormal stuff. The first one that came out on season 1, if you're watching the Netflix, is a Berkshire's UFO episode. I think it was just called Berkshire's UFO.
It was called the Berkshire UFO.
Sure
the Berkshire UFO, and the Berkshires is basically a region of Massachusetts.
Yep,
Um, do you want me to kind of start going through it?
Go for it.
I mean, are we talking about the night, September 1st of 1969? Is that what we're
Labor
talking
Day,
about?
yes.
Tonight we're talking-
Labor Day,
Oh, thank you.
1969.
All right, yeah.
All right. So this lady and her 2 sons, they looked up and they ran to
What was this old hag's name?
Oh, come on now.
Well, what was this old bag's name?
Okay, so the premise, like the it opens and it's basically it's a little cryptic. Oh my god, this lady and her 2 sons look up and they ran to the 2 sons ran to their grandmother who was babysitting inside the house, and the grandmother didn't believe them, and then she said, "Don't tell your mom because I don't want to upset her." She comes home, says that okay, I'm not going to tell them because I don't want to frighten my own kids. So basically, like it creates this dramatic irony where. 10, 20 years later, like I called my son and said, remember years ago I saw this weird thing? And the son says, yeah, Mom, we saw that too. And Mom goes, you didn't tell me. And the son goes, well, you didn't tell us. And then we get the cut to credits of Unsolved Mysteries.
Watch it. So basically, what this tale is about is in this region, numerous people on this same night
of New England,
the same thing. They all saw, or similar things. They all saw some sort of UFO activity taking place in this area. A lot of people that experienced this even had memories of some sort of abduction experience, people being taken up. A lot of the people, in fact, I think maybe everybody that mentioned that they had remembered being taken up was a younger person, like a kid. And they remembered, the one girl mentioned that she saw some of her schoolmates, and later on the schoolmate was like, yeah, I saw you. And all of the kids that were taken up were deposited back down sort of in the same area that they were taken. The one girl mentioned,
but never precisely in the same space.
She mentioned she had to walk back. Like I think her family drove home without her. It sounded like.
The fuck? Leaving kids? Like, well, aliens got them.
Well, they'll be like, this is ish. Like we've traveled many light years to get here. We're gonna put the kid like exactly where we found him, and it's like, hey, how about here? And Howard the alien is just like, oh, I don't remember where we blinded them. Yeah, that's fine. Just erase their memory. Like,
if we were to get sucked up in the flying saucers, like, all right, so, and they do tractor beam pull us up. Is it like our hips? Are we going like flat bodied? Are we going like we're standing up like humans? Like, how do you think we go?
Well, no, the thing is in the show, they had like the little kid, Tommy, he at first, like he ran to the next door neighbor's house, and they have these big yards in rural New England, and he was coloring, and the neighbor girl was like, you need to stay in the lines. It sounds like she was an asshole tyrant kind of babysitter. And then all of a sudden he has this like right after his babysitter or whoever, the neighbor girl, screams at him, he has this telepathic thought, quote unquote, and he has this voice or this urgent feeling that says like, you need to go home. You need to go home right now. Go home. Go home. And so he books it out of their kitchen, out their back door, on his way to his house, which is like it has to be like, a couple 100 yards away. And he remembers like he's sprinting. And he said he was like running for like his life. And he had this, like, he was terrified by the thought. And the neighbor, like girl's mom, the Shaws, They stepped outside and they saw him running in place for 5 minutes.
And then
in the
they
same
saw him
place.
just get, disappear.
And then they saw a blinding light. They saw him and then his arms bent back, like we've seen all in the classic, alien abduction
I guess
pose
it kind
of fire in the sky or
chest.
By your center mass chest,
by your chakra or what the fuck ever. And then boom, he's on the ship. Basically, he disappeared.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then later, after he's the one who saw the other girl, that you talked about, where they're like, oh, he saw her classmate. He saw the other classmate that was actually about 6 miles south at a lake with her family. She wanted to sneak out and smoke cigarettes, but she went to have ice cream with her family.
Yeah, they were in the vehicle when
she's like, I don't want to go get ice cream with my family. Now I'm 38 and I'm like, I would love to go. Let's go get ice cream. That would be awesome. But if you're 10, I guess in 1969, you're like, my sister's friend steals cigarettes from her mom. They're probably
Virginia Slim.
Ruler long Virginia Slim.
They were.
Let's sneak out and recreate Stand By Me and then get abducted by aliens.
Sounds like a great summer.
I know. But yeah, he says he saw her, and then after he got redeposited, it was on the opposite side of his house's yard. Yeah. So it wasn't there's the neighbor's house that he was at, there's his parents' house, and then there's the driveway or the street. He was put on the other side of his own house. That's where the aliens put him. So it's kind of how precise. I mean, these aliens are capable of overwhelming your senses and at least
maybe just they thought if they put them down somewhere else that the people would be like, oh shit, I guess I just saw something. I guess he just ran really fast.
Just because you have the technology to chloroform people and take away their consciousness and knock them out doesn't necessarily mean you have the technology to implant memories or do other really technical things. People in the Middle Ages would use ether and stuff to knock people out, but that's all they could really do. Now, so to think these aliens were super capable of interstellar travel, can't turn our brights off, kidnapping children, and then just should we put them back exactly as they were? I mean, close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades.
And alien abductions, I guess. Close enough.
Yeah.
I don't know. If I kidnap somebody, why am I going to go drop them off in the same place? Think about it this way. You kidnap somebody, and everyone's standing around where the person disappeared from going, holy shit, where are they? Are you going to pull back up and be like, hi, kick them out of your van? No.
That's what the neighbor's family did.
You're going to drive around back and drop them off and just be like, what? I didn't take anybody.
That's what the neighbor's family did, though. They watched this kid, Tommy, who was running. Can you imagine a 10-year-old, caught in a spotlight, just running as fast as he can, but not moving? Basically not he's just in the spotlight, and you're watching that happen on your own, backyard.
That
would scare the... Huh?
Yeah, I can imagine that. Be pretty interesting.
I mean, they make those swimming pools now that you can do laps in that you don't actually do a lap. Yeah, there you go. Imagine
yeah, they suck.
That was the other thing that was really interesting and consistent about the anecdotes or the interviews is that even though they talked to 4 or 5 sets of people, they all mention several things regarding their experience with the bright light.
That's true.
For one, they said that everything got quiet. Super quiet. And I don't know if, Justin, have you always lived in the Southwest?
I sure have.
Okay, so you guys haven't been in the Midwest or New England in late summer, early fall, Labor Day, right?
I've been
Definitely
only in Pennsylvania and Jersey around that time.
Okay. Have you noticed like bugs and crickets and just like there's a
Unfortunately.
lot of activity?
I do like lightning bugs. Little
Because every
firefly.
time I'm in, like, I grew up in Nebraska, and it's just a thing where because you're at that latitude and you're in like New England and it's late summer, like daylight lasts till like 9 p.m. Sometimes like 10:30, and
Yeah.
the bugs are just like there's always crickets and there's always the background sound of like the locusts and the cicadas in the
They're
trees,
like, here we
and
have
it's
the
kind of like a
cicadas.
yeah, but that happens more at like sunset at dusk, where it's like ree, ree, ree. So, I mean, no matter what time you're outside, it's not like you don't realize it as soon as you're outside. It's like background noise, but to turn it off, that silence would be deafening because you'd be like, where are all the sounds that should be happening that aren't? So it gets deadly quiet. Also, the people feel like there's a thickness to the air,
Like before
like
a
there's a
storm.
kind of like a humidity type of kind of eerie feeling. But also, one of the things that was reported in several different accounts was that people felt a pressure change. And
almost like before lightning.
either before lightning, before a low pressure system sweeps in, or if any, like we're in Arizona, if you do mountain driving at all times, like you can feel your ears pop because you're reaching higher altitudes.
Terrible.
Or if you do scuba diving, like I remember one of the guys talked about it.
Scuba diving.
Huh?
It's pronounced scuba diving? The S is silent?
So it's not self-contained underwater apparatus. It's just contained underwater apparatus. What is it? It's contained. Don't worry about it. And it's just like, is this dude like he's like swimming with a mountain of gear behind him? Like anyway, yeah, the that distinction of like the change in environment and atmosphere, it betrays a technology that we don't have yet, or it's kind of like one of those the Arthur C. Clarke's.
I would say it's the same thing as like when there's a storm about to happen, all the bugs shut up and all the birds shut up and start to like,
or an earthquake. Yeah,
like that's kind of like usually there's a predator coming or a natural disaster.
Could be, yeah. The thing is about that is like environmental control. We don't have the ability to do that or localize it. Like I'm sure we could set off a bomb that would cause.
Have you ever walked through the forest and realized all the birds will stop singing when you get near them? It's like kind of that same sort of a thing.
It's not even a forest thing. I stepped out my front door today, and when I closed my front door, like the birds in the tree next to me just shut the fuck up.
You're like, not this guy.
Yeah, it was about me. It was personally. I took it personally.
They were like, this fucker in particular is not going to hear
They're
our
like,
songs.
This
our songs
introvert
are not for you.
This introvert hasn't stepped out his front door in a week.
A whole damn week.
You spent 7 days inside?
Yeah, I've done that.
Ooh.
Not this week, but in the last 6 months, definitely.
Wow.
I've spent more than 3 weeks without going outside.
Yeah, at first you were real scared of everything.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever gone longer than 48 hours without going outside.
Oh, I definitely have, because my backyard upsets me. Someday it'll be nice and I'll go outside and be like, look at this beauty. Until then.
So one of the later stories that happened. Well, okay, so
like, are we not going to talk about the UFOs? So, anyways, the interesting thing about this UFO
we are. That's what I'm talking about. What? Sorry, go ahead.
No, go on. I thought you were going to go off on another tangent.
So the UFOs are pretty fucking cool, if you ask me. They were picking people up, making them sound deaf, and
they were picking children up. Or at least people of children height. That was the point I was going to get at.
What was interesting...
Well, they like them short and tasty.
What was interesting was it was corroborated by... You had numerous people seeing it in different areas at the same time.
Tons of
seeing
people.
all sorts of different things. Not only did you have people being abducted saying, I got abducted, but you had people saying, I saw this motherfucker get abducted. And
yeah,
then
north to south across state lines. Yeah.
there is also, so in the documentary, they didn't really, the little Unsolved Mysteries guy, they didn't really talk about a couple things that I found just Googling away. There was this story had actually a lot of paperwork to back it up, which was kind of interesting because they almost made it seem like there wasn't any. Like they were like, I don't know, there was nothing on the police blotter, and they deleted the supposed people calling in to the DJ. But there was various letters and things like.
Well, they didn't have tape. It was 1969.
They
It's
had
not like
tape. They just taped over it.
they don't have. Well, they have. Yeah. Okay. So that was another point I was going to get to. But go ahead. They're like basically in 1969. It was like surveillance tape on VHS.
Best of my life.
You would basically tape over it in a cycle.
That's,
like
yeah.
if nothing
because
if nothing
tape was
happened,
expensive. Why would you buy a new one all the time? What you normally did was you tape over it until it started sounding a little funny, and you'd know your tape was wearing out, and you'd pop in a new one. But yeah, this is part of. There's like a UFO Hall of Fame or something, and this story is part of that. There was also a historical marker near the Sheffield Bridge. It was put up in 2015, but it had a lot of vandalism.
Sheffield, Massachusetts.
Yes.
We're talking about it, or no, Sheffield. Well, let me check.
That's where part of it happened.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I like my notes and my script. I had basically this happened in Berkshire, Massachusetts, and Sheffield was like Connecticut. I'm not 100% sure.
I don't think.
But anyway, basically, New England is pretty small. But the thing is, it did cross state lines. Sorry, go ahead.
So they had a marker there that Thomas Reed, he's one of the people in this story. He's the one who, his brother, his mother, and his grandmother were in the car, and they got abducted or whatever. And then actually in this case, the adults did go with, because they said that when they like zapped back to the car or woke up or whatever, his grandma and his mom had switched places, and the grandma was in the driver's seat, but she never
That was in
drove.
the episode.
Yeah.
That was in the episode, yeah.
That was in the episode. You're right. And they said that the other thing is that the car wasn't turned on. So
yeah, the ignition was off, and the grandmother was behind the wheel. The mother was in the passenger seat, and the ignition was off. Grandma never drove.
No. And so that was the Reed family. That was the Reeds. And Thomas Reed actually is one of the people that's like a big push behind, having people know about this. And he got people's support to actually put up this historical marker. This is the part that's not in the Netflix series, is the historical marker was erected in 2015, but due to a lot of graffiti and stuff, it was finally removed, because it was one of those things where if you have to scrub graffiti off of it all the time, it's going to start costing a lot, and you're eventually just going to take it down.
You can't insure it, and it's one of those things where it's like, all right, well, sunk cost fallacy.
Paid for by private donations. So, I think there's actually a lawsuit going on. So Thomas Reed actually has a website you can go to called ufopark.org. The Tom Reed UFO Park is his whole website where he talks about the UFO monument. And they got permission to put it up and went through all that jazz, but I'm not sure if it was taken down just due to graffiti or what, but who knows? Because I guess in 2018 it was deemed a historic landmark, that monument. So I don't know.
That's
Maybe
kind of cool.
Put it back up. That is pretty cool. So this is actually pretty well documented. He has like letters from the governor and stuff of Sheffield. So he has a lot of documentation you can look at. It's a very well documented case, kind of
evidence.
It reminds me of, like we had here the Phoenix Lights, which was a weird lights.
It's definitely something that happened, right? There were public reports, there were private reports, there were military reports.
There's no military reports of the UFO.
Oh, not of that.
No.
Yeah. One of the things that they talk about is they basically there are some people that got laughed out of Berkshire and like basically ostracized, but in the town of Sheffield, the Unsolved Mysteries crew, they interviewed the like local gas station on the highway is owned by like a mom and pop shop, and the guy who runs it, the proprietor, his father was the chief of police of Sheffield, Massachusetts at the time, and he does remember his father talking to residents of Sheffield that reported to him, and that reports came in all over, and he was just a kid at the time, and his father was like, "This is a bunch of hooey," but that inspired him to like him and his friends to go out into the wilderness and kind of look for these UFOs as they happen.
He for sure was a believer. What was it he kept saying?
He was like,
I mean, come on.
He's like, something happened, and because they kept pointing to actually something that was in the news around the time, which was this last year. The Navy admitted not that they knew what was going on, but that they had footage of unidentified flying objects.
Yeah, we talked about that in one of our episodes.
And they show the footage of the object as it's like rotating around in the gun camera of the F-18. And you're just like, okay, well, I don't have any frame of reference. So I wish I could see something more than what just this tumbling object that can kind of rotate and move and do stuff. Excuse me.
We spoke about that a little bit in one of our previous episodes, where there was a little bit more video footage to go with that. They just didn't show it in that documentary, but you can look it up. Like the Navy fighter pilot guys talking about the UFO they see there. They mention like, what is that? I don't know what that is, so that's kind of cool.
One of the interesting things is like where you said that the group in Sheffield that saw it, the Reeds. The family of four, the Reeds, the mother, the grandmother, and the two young boys in the back seat. The mother says specifically that it was a blinding light about 2 stories off the ground. It was 100 yards long, and what it looked like was a turtle shell if you looked at it from profile. So basically, it was like long on top and it was shortened and a little bit on the bottom. And what I can think of, just off the top of my head, when she said that was, have you ever seen Disney's Flight of the Navigator?
Nope.
It looks like
I have not.
It looks like the spacecraft from Flight of the Navigator.
Interesting.
It's kind of crazy.
A coolie hat?
No, a little more aerodynamic.
A turtle shell.
I've seen Raiden whip that thing across the screen pretty good. Mortal Kombat.
I was like,
video games.
I don't know what we're talking about anymore.
Metal Gear 2.
He's the god of lightning.
Yeah.
Who that guy played him and he died jerking off.
What?
Choking himself.
What?
Carradine? What was his last name? He was a famous karate guy.
David Carradine?
David Carradine, right.
Was it,
didn't he die? Autoerotic asphyxiation or whatever?
In Thailand. Yeah.
Yes. He played Raiden in the movies.
Well, there you go.
Oh, are you talking about the Mortal Kombat movies?
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't be.
He was Bill in Kill Bill.
People.
Oh, yeah, he was.
Yeah, be safe.
Be safe.
No kink shaming, but be safe.
Yeah, always use learn how to tie some quick pull knots.
Always be safe, sane, and consensual.
You can choke yourself, but make sure you have safety pulls. Yeah. No, I can understand if you want to use like a nice silk scarf so you don't leave any bruises and stuff, but just make sure you have safety knots that you can pull that lets everything go. It's not hard. Take Boy Scouts. They tell you how to. They tell you how to make all the kinky knots. Boy Scouts is totally like gay training.
So tell us about your Boy Scouts experience, Justin.
Well, have you seen? There's like a channel on digital TV that's like nothing but trying to get people on the giant class action lawsuit against the Boy Scouts.
Interesting. I did not know that.
No, I haven't seen that. What are you talking about on the what?
there's like a TV channel, and they'll have like a 5-minute or 10-minute infomercial like every couple hours on this channel specifically. I've heard about it on the radio. I think it's on DirecTV, one of their channels, and it's just like trying to get people to join the class action lawsuit that's like 40 million strong or 4 million strong or something like that.
Interesting.
Because I guess Boy Scouts across the nation were just raping boys.
That's pretty terrible. Unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, unfortunately, anything where children are, there's going to be adults attracted to that want to do bad things to kids. That's
I didn't get tiddled, or if I did, my brain blocks it out real nice. Like,
hopefully the first one. There.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. But yeah, the UFOs. Back to them.
So yeah, I mean, it was just a well-documented case of UFO sightings and abductions that happened to numerous people, mostly kids being abducted. But like we said, maybe, because that Reed family, the mother and grandmother, were also abducted. Maybe the parents don't remember or just didn't want to admit it. Maybe, I mean, if you were abducted, it's kind of a weird thing to think about, like, holy shit, someone took me and I couldn't do anything to stop them. They could take me again whenever
aliens
I want.
are like 2 human females. We can't tell the difference. Swap.
I'm sure that happened, but I mean, as an adult, you might not want to remember being abducted. You're just like, I don't want to think about the fact that they
100%. That was the other thing is like,
so maybe the kids are the only ones that are, willing to admit. So maybe more adults were taken.
Because I mean, maybe these are all like, Red Sox fans, and this is the year that the New York Mets, the amazing Mets, win the World Series. So it's like, oh, it's a total bummer if you're a Sox fan that you're just like, oh, it's September, they might not make the playoffs.
I'm so confused. What does this have to do with being abducted? If you're a Mets fan, get abducted, I don't get it.
No, I'm saying maybe all these New England people are Boston Red Sox fans, and it's the New York Mets that went on to win the World Series.
So they got abducted because they're losers?
I mean, it's New England. I don't know. All right.
So that's Nick's theory. Justin, what did you think of the
episode? From what I saw, which was not all of it, because I'm not going to lie, definitely fell asleep.
Come on.
Not because I thought it was boring, just I fall asleep pretty easily.
That's true.
I can sleep sitting straight up. I taught myself to do that because Yeah, I taught myself to do it because my economics teacher said I could sleep in class if I could sleep sitting straight up. So I taught myself to sleep sitting straight up.
He's just like, I'm going to do this out of spite. And it's just like,
American ingenuity.
Holy shit.
But it was pretty neat.
Yeah.
Some of the interviews were kind of neat. I did a little bit of more research afterward, or today, more or less, looking more into it. And just seeing how there was a lot of corroboration from tons of people in the community. A lot was kind of left out from others in the Netflix series. Yeah. And how there's actually quite a lot of people that would openly, willingly admit that something happened that day. But the show was probably going more of a 50-50 split thing to try to get believers and non-believers.
Yeah, they'd be like, it's unsolved. But yeah, I read
exactly,
that
it seemed like it was very, very real.
That most of the places, people aren't like skeptical about it. They're not like weird about it. Like, you saw what? What, Nicholas?
What? No, I'm good.
He's beating his phone.
I thought you were testing sound.
Who knows? No. He's doing like the timeout symbol with his phone.
No, I no. This is timeout. No, yeah, sorry. No, we're good. Keep going.
Beer further away. Someone go take Nick's beer away. Just poke your head over the fence and cough, and he'll go scattering back inside. Plague.
So shall we
talk about the next episode?
Move on
to Are we on to the
volume
episode? 2? Oh my god.
The tsunami spirits?
It's a bummer.
That blew me away. That was super recent.
Yeah, it was a pretty
Well, not only was it recent, we're talking about like the episode came out like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Oh, did it really?
And
Wow. Okay.
it was definitely a rougher one. Like as far as unsolved
It's
mysteries
a
goes,
bummer, man.
I didn't see the sode, but I did some research into this.
even
So in
most
March,
unsolved mysteries episodes, even like really sad ones, they try to keep it like a little bit like,
spooky or
lighter.
like
But this one,
tongue
it
in
was like,
cheek.
oh gosh, it got you right in the feels.
Yeah, I read this one said it was a very sad feeling kind of all the way through.
It was a great
Yeah.
episode though.
In March of 2011, a massive tsunami devastated the coast of Tohoku region of northeastern Japan. Nearly 20,000 lives were lost in the
Yeah.
months that followed.
Well, there's still
Hundreds of
So many
strange encounters were reported.
Yeah, there's still
Sorry.
like
So many
3,000
stories, yeah.
people that have never, like, their bodies have never been found, so they're just like missing, assumed dead.
Right.
So the actual dead is like 15,000 something, but then there's
That's crazy.
thousands more that you just have to assume.
Yeah, the episode opens with this reverend of a Shinto Buddhist shrine, and he's the reverend, and he remembers the story of being approached by a man asking where he is, and the reverend tells him he's at the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah.
And the man asks the reverend whether he's alive or not, and the reverend replies, "No, I'm sorry, there was a tsunami and you drowned."
Yeah.
And that's the beginning of the episode.
Damn.
Yeah, the city of Ishinomaki was one that was hit the hardest. It was one that was pretty much like entirely like the city was just swept away. So after there was an earthquake first, and they know if you're anywhere near the ocean after an earthquake like that, there's going to be a tsunami to follow. But normally the tsunamis do not go in as far as this one did. So even people fleeing got caught up in it, even though they knew, oh shit, earthquake, time to dip. There wasn't enough time for
even though there were warnings. Yes. Yeah.
And it was,
how come nothing happens in California when they have
dude, don't even chance it. Like that's
knocking on some wood. I don't know why specifically Japan is more prone to tsunamis, but I don't know if it's like there's something about that region that just makes them more prone to it. And it's so crazy. They show this footage of like helicopter or drone footage or something, and the wave just comes over, and it just keeps going. It's not so like whenever I thought of tsunami, I thought of something like really aggressive and like crazy. From a bird's eye view, it just almost looks like the ocean itself is an entity that is just slowly creeping over and consuming everything. It looks almost like it's moving slow because it's not that fast. Like
Cue Creeping Death by Metallica.
Yeah, no, seriously.
A little bit.
It's
it's
fast enough that people can't outrun it, but when you're looking at it from a bird's eye view, it just looks like it's just a blanket slowly being pulled over everything. And it had like debris that was on fire floating on top of it. So
behind it, yes.
You see
in its wake.
water coming at you.
Right, so it was a flaming fire wave
of debris, and the thing is, like,
that's right. You don't have to worry about the water; it's the debris that's going to get you.
Well, and if you
the
can't
way
get
it's
out of the
filmed,
water,
the way it's
really?
the way it's filmed, especially with the helicopter altitude like drone shots. I think it was helicopters that were filming this thing as it encroached.
Yeah, drones were just big then, right?
But the framing of it wasn't that like here's the land and here's the wave. It was filming like the wave as stationary, and you could just see the land slipping underneath it as it just
cool.
ate everything. It's cool, but it's also just like
devastating.
You can't imagine.
Damn, nature, you scary.
Yeah.
And that's what people talked about is living near the ocean. The ocean was a source of income for most people, like all different.
There's a fishing village and a river,
and nori, seaweed type industries and all sorts of different stuff. And everybody was always like, we're wealthy because of the ocean. The ocean makes us rich. And it was almost like a betrayal. It's like the thing that people were respectful of the ocean and thankful for, grateful for the ocean, suddenly turned on them. And
it'd be like being a farmer and dying of poison ivy.
Sure. Or more like your crops falling on you and crushing you.
Or like being a cattle farmer
Dying.
dying in a
Yeah,
stampede.
and it
That
was
too.
just a
Yes,
thing where they
yes.
were like, the ocean literally just
Or out
turned on
hogging
them.
and they eat you alive.
Right. And they had said like they'd been through this before, like Heidi said. In 1896 there was a magnitude 8.5 earthquake.
Well, bullshit. First off,
no.
how do you judge in 1896 an 8.5 magnitude earthquake?
Seismography has been around for a long
because of the
time.
effects of the of it. Like, you
They
can judge it from
you
like
can look at the
the
land,
fault
yeah.
breaks. It's not like that. It's
Gotcha.
not like they had active sensors in 1896.
No,
They
that's what I'm
did,
saying.
actually,
Okay,
though.
so we've gone back and looked.
They've
At the time, they didn't say they had an 8.5.
No, at the time,
Correct.
though, they did actually have sensors, like old-fashioned things. You can look at I've seen, like, little statues and stuff where something will vibrate
Mhm.
before an earthquake was gonna happen, so they do know, but, of
Oh,
course,
yeah,
they
I've
didn't
seen they
know.
had warning, but just like a
Yeah,
measurement
so
scale is what I meant.
Right.
they would be able to, like, detect, ones that are worse than other ones based off of what they did have,
Gotcha.
but,
Okay.
yeah, we can look back through the land and actually see evidence of how bad
It's
it
the same
was.
way they can like drill through ice cores in Antarctica and tell what the weather was like
Yeah.
in the ice age or before.
Yeah, I've always wondered how they figured that shit
Yeah.
out.
They have different methods.
Trees, how much water they got, etc.
In 1933, there was an 8.4. In 1978, it was a 7.4. And here's the thing.
Are they on a damn connection plate or something?
Well, the whole Pacific Rim is. The Pacific Rim going from like Japan to Russia to Alaska to California down through like Mexico to basically underneath the Pacific to Antarctica
Gotcha.
to
We get it.
why do you think Indonesia is like the land of
Yeah,
a
they get
thousand?
screwed.
Well, it's the land of 1,000 islands, and that's the reason, is because it's so sizable. Oh, it
that makes sense.
used to be a landmass, and now it's a bunch of it's
Now
a
it's crumbly
1,000 different
land
islands.
masses, yeah.
The thing about the way that earthquakes are measured is on that scale, it's logarithmic, and what that means is that if you have a 7.0 earthquake and an 8.0 earthquake, the 8.0 earthquake is 10 times as bad as the 7.0.
Right.
The March 2011 earthquake that caused a tsunami in that area of Japan was a magnitude 9.0.
Not
It's a
so
big
not
boy.
only, I mean, imagine, your house has just been torn apart. You could be trapped somewhere and now a tsunami is coming. There's not much recourse at that point. If you've already been injured in an earthquake, or old people that have already gotten disoriented and confused, probably didn't have time to get out. A lot of people lost families. Like, there was a man that talked about finding his daughter just draped over some bamboo, and he said she didn't have a scratch on her. She looked beautiful. She looked fine, but she was dead. And then, like, weeks later, his wife was found 3 miles away. And then somebody
Damn.
was digging through debris and said, "Oh, we found a baby," and it was his youngest daughter. And he said her face was bloated. She'd been there for a long time, and he had to, like, brush dirt off, and finally realized that, yes,
And he
that was his
recognized her.
daughter.
Yes.
And that was all his family. So his entire family wiped out in one event. And there's a lot of people like him. He's not the only one. Everybody in that area, it seemed like, had at least somebody that they lost. And a lot of
Right.
people had lost whole entire families. But shortly after this incident happened, a lot of people began having ghost experiences.
Yeah, before I get to that, I want to mention that one of the local government officials in emergencies services, he was interviewed, and he stated that he knew that the size of the earthquake, that there was going to be a tsunami. So they sounded the alarm
Immediately.
Like,
yeah.
they sounded the alarm, and they used like radio and public services to issue evacuation orders. And there's drone shots of them, like, doing audio where they show people like leaving in cars while they do the audio in multiple languages of like, there's been an earthquake, please leave the area due to tsunami, head to high ground. The same public official that issued the radio call for evacuation watched as it grew and grew and grew. And we see that basically it grew to just so big. And he, according to his own interview, he said it hit him inside the building and swept him outside
of the building. Yeah.
He's the one who called the order, and he's like basically, head over foot in this giant wave of debris and water and shit and death.
Didn't he say they didn't expect it to get to them? Like, were they where they should have
Right.
normally been safe?
Yeah, that's one of the things is like he's the one who called the evacuation, and it's like, well, if they thought it was normal, then he would have moved. But he eventually found the surface. He was able to breathe, but he couldn't, swim against the current, and it took him wherever it wanted him to go, and it basically it took him to a place where he was able to survive.
But he ended up losing over 50 of his coworkers.
Yes, that was fucking heartbreaking to watch.
Probably the only other ones that survived were either not in the building or were like him, pushed out of the building, because if you're in it and it fills with water, you get trapped.
Yeah, you drown.
Yeah, unless you can find your way to a stairwell, right?
You'd still drown. Unless you can get out of the building.
Right.
Yeah, wouldn't it be constantly pushing water pressure in?
Yeah, no, you'd be
smashed
yeah.
again.
It'd fill you up, yeah.
So, obviously this was an event that the people that died didn't necessarily die unawares. I would say most of them saw it coming at least a split second before it happened, a lot of them, or heard, all of the warnings on the radio and being broadcasted loudly through public speakers and stuff. So there was a lot of people that died being terrified, being scared, knowing what was coming, maybe even like literally seeing their own death happen. And I think that this kind of creates an atmosphere where a lot of people tend to report ghostly sightings with this kind of activity, like anything, really traumatic like that. But people began reporting sightings of individuals that they believed to be ghosts. One man reported that he went to a shelter to look for his mother, who was supposed to had been evacuated, and he saw somebody sitting
this old woman facing the window.
So he went over and he took a picture so he could send it to his family and say, look, she's alive. But as soon as he took the picture, her face changed, and he's like, who the hell is this? Like, it was a woman he didn't know. It wasn't his mother. And then he was told, I'm sorry, your mother died on it was like a mini bus or like a small little vehicle that trying to evacuate the elderly people in her area, got swept away by the tsunami. So she had passed around that same time that he was taking a picture that he thought was of her. So people had experiences like that. One woman states that she's actually seen ghosts before, and she describes them as looking like your reflection on glass. Like, when you're in a car and you're a passenger and you can see your own reflection in the glass, you can also like look through it. That's how she describes ghosts, is like that, like a reflection in a glass pane, see through. A lot of the experiences people had were taxi drivers, and they had experiences where people got into their taxi, they were driving, and they would have a weird feeling, and they'd get to the location or near it, and they'd turn around and there was nobody in their car.
Right. They talked about this as the reason that the journalist who was sent to the area to kind of, this is one of the things where it's like the people that actually documented evidence. These cab drivers weren't making fares up because there was no economic incentive for them to make fares up, because they had to pay for the fares. So what would happen is they would pick people up, and they would these fares were young men who would basically get in their cab and give them an address, and young women, and they would be driving, and all of a sudden the fare would dematerialize, or they would look back in their rear view, or they would turn around and the fare was no longer in the car.
Yeah. And these taxi drivers, they said even though they had that experience, sometimes they'd see the same individual again who would want to ride again. And they knew that this was a ghost that wasn't going to be able to pay. And basically, these taxi drivers were saying they chose to pay to drive these ghosts wherever they needed to go because they felt bad for them. Because the land was just so destroyed, houses leveled, that a lot of people that saw ghosts said they were confused. They thought that they couldn't get back to their families. They were trying to find, relatives. So the taxi drivers saw
Right.
kind of like guiding these ghosts to like their family or to somewhere that they knew. So they didn't turn them away or
Did
get scared. They just let them in their taxis every time.
Heidi, did you mention the way the grief counselor described the difference between the way like maybe the West or Americans deal with
No,
death
I
and the way
didn't.
that Japanese do?
Oh, I was going to mention that.
Because the thing is, like, the cultural attitudes toward death is that basically death can be witnessed and seen by the living, and the distinctions between the two aren't between the living and the dead aren't as stark as they are in America. Because here in America, like if you're dead, that means the end of your existence and your life is over, and we put you in a box, and then we remember you fondly, but your existence itself is like we consider it to be over. Whereas in Japan, he actually mentions like the word for these the paper doors that we see all the time in Japanese houses that move back and forth, and they're used to be partitions, but they're paper thin. And basically, if you move into death, it's like you've moved across a paper door or a very thin barrier, and it's as if the dead can still be experienced or have their own experiences, but just be confused. Like there's a difference between and there's a respect that's there. That's it's not immediate like, oh, you need to go see a doctor. It's like, oh, if you
Well,
saw your
they
mother.
also said that it wasn't that, not necessarily that it was more normalized, which it is, but also that they do not want the grief to go away because
Mm-hmm.
that feels like forgetting the person. What were you
Correct. It
going to say,
feels like a
Justin?
betrayal.
Justin.
Right, the Japanese people very much lament in their grief. They don't let go. They harbor and remember. So I feel like, honestly, because none of these ghostly spirits shit are showing up, all these people are just having severe PTSD and survivor guilt trauma.
Maybe one of the interesting things that happened was a woman was brought to this reverend saying she felt like she had a bunch of different people in her, and these people were speaking through her like she was possessed, which we don't really, in Japan, being possessed is different than what a lot of like westernized versions of it are. But she was having
Hmm.
experiences. The reverend said, did you lose family in the tsunami? She's like, no. Were you near the tsunami? No. Do you live near where the tsunami took place? No. She had no experience to connect her to it, but for some reason she was having these experiences where she would become possessed, and she had said she had seen ghosts since she was younger, but after the tsunami she started getting bothered by them and started having them like come inside her, and she would have to go and have like
Sounds like she was kind of an Oda Brown in the movie The Ghost with Whoopi Goldberg.
Haven't seen it.
Oh my God, we need to watch it.
Sorry. That was the violent reaction.
You also said the line, they were coming inside her, and none of us made a joke. And I'm really disappointed about that.
The way I have it written is an aggrieved woman shows up at the temple very disturbed, pleading for help, saying there are many spirits that are entering my body.
Oh, okay.
That's the way I had it.
I liked coming inside
but
her.
Also there's that, and also it's like it's a little Scientology, but no, this is different than Thetans or body Thetans.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say that's like this at all. This is like she sees dead people and then she
I
feels
know.
like they're inside of her.
Correct.
Justin,
and she doesn't want
laugh.
You're telling me my Thetans aren't real?
Nope.
Are you telling me I'm not a level 5?
Definitely not.
Can we use
you don't
a
have enough money to
screenshot?
be level 5.
I don't even. Can we use a screenshot?
Can we use a screenshot? I don't know.
Can
what that
we
means.
use a screenshot
of what?
All at the same time now.
Can we use a screen?
Damn it!
No, of Justin with the wave.
Oh yeah, Justin, describe what's behind you.
Oh yeah.
As the poster for this.
It's one of those like famous pieces of art or something.
It is.
Something's
It's
wave.
Japanese, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
I thought you did that on purpose. Actually, I thought you were just
this is just on my wall.
Yeah. Get in the theme of things.
No, I'm just in
You're
theme.
very
Yeah,
in theme.
the aggrieved woman shows up, and the same reverend that we see at the beginning helps her out. A different story was a woman gets stopped in her car by a group of teenagers, and they seem to be aggressive, but they died in the tsunami, and they don't know they're dead, and they don't seem to be aware that they're dead, but she knows that they're dead, and she has to tell them, like, hey, go away, I'm sorry, you died, you just like, you
She's
really have to go away.
she's one of the ones that says she has seen ghosts before this, and that a lot of the
Yeah.
time the ghosts she sees don't know they're dead. But she was the one that described them as looking like see-through, so she can always tell.
Yeah,
And
she's the one who saw them into the half transparent, like,
yeah, so she
yeah.
often has to tell them, "Sorry, you're dead." Another woman had an experience where somebody knocked on her door, dripping wet, asking for dry clothing, and she
Yes, that
thought
was
that was
so.
possibly a ghost.
But she didn't even bother. She didn't question, didn't ask a thing.
No.
Like, she's like, because she opens her house door, and the in the reenactment, the ghost says, "Excuse me, may I have some dry clothes?" And she goes, "Of course." And she runs and gets her dry clothes and gives it to her, and then blesses her and sends her on her way. And it was just like, what would you do?
Probably
It
the
was like,
same thing.
yeah,
Be like, "Here you go. Not sure if you're dead or not, but there's some
like
clothes."
here's the job I worked 2 jobs ago. They gave me a hoodie.
Yep.
It's yours.
What you said, Justin, was you thought it was like a form of PTSD. Well, this the one of the men that was interviewed, he was like a journalist. He was interviewing people, but he himself does not believe in ghosts. He says he doesn't know what to make of these experiences, especially like the taxi drivers, because why would you just let your meter run and pay for it out of your own pocket? So he kind of categorizes them as like other, but he said he actually does not think that it is a PTSD moment, specifically because these kinds of ghost sightings didn't happen after other tsunamis they've had, after other types of disasters, after, Nagasaki, Hiroshima. He said there's not as many, like, specific ghost stories like this in such an enormous, like, mass as there was after this particular one for some reason. And
All right.
go for it.
Did you say this was a small fishing town?
Yes. Well, that had the most.
Yeah, they're just idiots. They're country bumpkins.
Possibly. I don't think that's true.
So they're more susceptible. I mean, look at people in the South. They're like, I know Cletus he got sucked up by them alien juices.
I don't think, like, here's the thing.
It's Japan, so I think it's a little different.
Yeah, it's like, we can't equate rural people and denigrate them to the extent that just because American rural people are disappointing doesn't mean that we can extrapolate that to all rural people across the world.
That journalist did mention that there was a lot more of like older belief systems and
spiritual belief and superstition and Shinto.
That was still very prevalent in that area. But I also think perhaps what it has to do with is in other cases, people had more time to prepare for the fact that a tsunami was coming because, they were warned earlier or they were further away. It was less devastating. This was people that heard, on the radio, they're telling everybody to get to higher ground. We're on higher ground. We're safe. And then in an instant getting wiped out. I think that it was such a shock to the people that died that maybe something did get left behind in that. Whereas, even like dropping a bomb is something horrible and would sound unexpected, but it was in the middle of a war time when I think a lot of people did expect anything could possibly happen at any time. Everybody's already kind of got that in their heads. Whereas,
and the Japanese at that time were just such a different, not to be mean, but like they were just such a different breed of warrior at that time. Like I think at one point over 100,000 civilians killed themselves rather than just being captured, because they were just so in belief that if they were captured, they'd be tortured and killed worse than dying.
That's possible, but that's what I mean. Like if you're, about to go into battle, or if you're, even if you're just a civilian at home, but you're at war, in the back of your mind is that thing of like, we could get attacked, we could die. I kind of feel like that's how a lot of people's mindset was for us in the US after 9/11. Even people far away here in Arizona, nowhere near, there were people that were concerned about the nuclear power station that we have being attacked, and people walking around with that idea in their head of, I could go at any minute.
It'd wipe us out.
But that's what I mean. Like it was more, prevalent in people's mind. So if you do die,
I'm sorry, is this the Palo station or whatever it is called?
Palo Verde, yes.
Yep, the Palo Verde nuclear power plant.
That's no. The only way to. I'm sorry.
Anyways, so I think that people's
sorry,
in
the nuclear expert in me is like, wow, that was so far away.
Okay, look at the fallout radius. You're within it.
Depending on the wind.
No, you're still within it.
Depending on the wind.
Yeah, we're within 50 miles. We're fucked.
I'm just
doesn't matter.
No, we face a bigger danger from nuclear war than we do from a dirty attack on the Palo Verde.
The point of that is,
obviously, I'm not worried about that.
The point I was making is that if you're expecting death and you die, you're not like surprised by it.
Right.
You've had time to kind of be like, yeah, I thought I might die. Shit, now I'm dead. Versus these people that were like hearing this on the radio and looking outside thinking, oh, that's weird. Wow, people are dying. That's horrible. Good thing we're safe. And then all of a sudden, in a blink of an eye, they're dead. And, if there is an afterlife, if your soul does go somewhere afterwards, whatever, you might be confused. You might be like, the fuck just happened? Where is everybody? Why does everything look different? Like, it might create a restless spirit of somebody becoming a ghost, wandering about, going like, what's going on? Like, I think that that's the perfect storm situation to create that kind of a confused spirit versus other, big traumatic events where people have in the back of their mind that they're probably going to die. Just my 2 cents.
It could definitely be multiple different things. Just as far as I go, there's no spirits. There's no spirit. Like, there's spirit within a living body. You can have a spirit. I feel like living things can have a spirit or a soul to it. But I feel like once the energy is gone from that vessel, it's gone.
You think it just gets sucked somewhere? Just what?
Yeah, probably. It just goes back into the ether of the universe.
You don't think that it can create any sort of imprint on its surrounding,
or
even
reflection, like a
absolutely
ripples in a pond?
No. Here, I've even said this to you in the hiding pass. Let's go to any place that has been certified haunted by ghosts. I'm going to stay in a room there, and while I stay in that room, I'm going to trash that shit. And then I'm going to leave, and if they go, hey, you destroyed the room, I'm going to go, no, the ghost did it. And they'd have to believe me because the ghost did it.
I don't think that's how that works. I think they'd still charge your card.
But the ghost did it. I didn't do it. The ghost did it.
No,
so why would I pay for things that the ghost destroyed?
All right, ghost lawyer chiming in. None of this would hold up in human court.
Okay.
Well, obviously, because ghosts aren't real. So we'd have to go to real human court because there is no ghost.
Never, ever had any sort of a weird ghostly experience.
No, because they don't exist.
What if it's just that you don't...
What about past relatives? Anybody who's passed along and you never had something more...
I've never met any of my grandparents that are dead. Everyone that was old enough was dead before I was born.
You might have seen a ghost who wouldn't know it.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, oh, God, I hope he's not adopted. I fucking hope I don't not open it.
No, my dad left, so I've never met my father, so he could be dead. Hopefully.
Let's hope he's dead, yeah.
Maybe you'll get a letter someday that he left you like a bunch of money or a free house or something.
Stupid, irresponsible bastard.
No, unfortunately, he gave up all of his rights and shit to me back when I was like 2 years old, so I don't get
his
nothing.
rights to you? Like, I charged this baby for raising this baby.
Well, pretty much it was, he went to court with my mom, and it's like, if you want anything to do with this kid, you're going to have to do child support and take all these classes to have parent rights. Yeah, and he was like, nah, I'm out of here.
Don't let the door hit you, pal.
I have a half-sister that is 9 months to the day younger than me.
Yes.
Like, that's not even fucking around. She was born September 6th of 89.
Let's think about that. Okay.
I mean, he would definitely have had sex with her probably a couple weeks before I was born to get her pregnant. Her mother.
Okay.
9 months. Figure it out.
Because it's closer to like 9 months, almost 10 months, really, if you think about like being ovulating and stuff. Then it could take 2 to 3 weeks and all that.
A lot of thought into tracking your mother's ovulation.
Well, no. He's had a lot of time to think about his own history.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when you're like 14 and your half sister calls you and is like, "Hey, I'm your half sister," and I'm like, "I have a fucking sister? What? Besides the one I've known my entire life?"
Any hoozlebees. Do we have anything else to talk about the tragedy of the 2011 Fukushima?
I read that there was one gentleman that not every year, but every few months on his, I think he also might have been a cab driver or a bus route. It was a bus route. He would see a gentleman, typically in a hotter month climate, in a big heavy coat, covered, like just dripping wet, asking for a ride, but would never move or get on.
That's kind of creepy.
Would just look at him and go, "Can I get a ride? I don't know where I am."
Yeah.
Essentially, just always repeating that they always seemed lost and confused.
And so you don't believe in any ghost or anything. Maybe here's just my theory. Some people don't have the ability to see things like ghosts.
I could understand.
I would feel like maybe some people that are super skeptical also might be like, "Oh, it was just the wind. Oh, it was just this. Oh, it was just my eyes playing tricks." They might like invent reasons they didn't see something, or they just might not.
I also have really bad eyesight.
Yeah, or I mean, they just may not have that ability, whatever it is that, it's often described as the veil, especially right now. It's close to Halloween when people say the veil between the worlds gets thin, and it's just something about some people are able to kind of see through that and see things, and other people don't have that ability to see through whatever it is.
Like
to the other
the part about this episode that impacted me as the skeptic was that they talked about like, okay, well, Americans think about death as like, okay, so we die and we put our bodies in boxes and we bury them. And with this episode, they were like, well, here's the thing. Normally, all these like deceased victims and remains, they would cremate them.
Yeah, I guess burying people is not common at all in Japan.
Not normal at all. Like
not in Japan, no. I think it's like 99% are cremated.
But only because the Fukushima power plant was shut down and the nuclear power plant couldn't operate, they had to bury people.
Closed. What they said was interesting. They dug them up later and did cremate them at a later date.
Which is
no way. That's wicked. No, that's so cool.
It's respectful, but at the same time, it's like, can you imagine the horror or the reverse of that?
No.
Where
digging up dead bodies from a terrible tragedy so you can go burn them?
No, not the digging up, but putting Americans through that, saying like, okay, so to Americans who can't, like, for cremation is like, because in the Catholic Church and a few other religions, cremation is not allowed. Now it's acceptable,
sort of,
but
yeah,
well, a lot of people in my family have been cremated. The church is okay with it.
The church is sort of okay with it.
Yeah, they let the old Catholics be burned up now.
Yeah, they kind of just like turn their blind eye to it, but imagine forcing a religion that requires people to be buried to be cremated.
Well, but the burial's reversible. Cremation.
Yeah, you're right.
I think what's stranger about it for the Japanese is I think they saw burying people I think they see it as disrespectful. I'm not sure if that's true or not. If anybody knows more than me, please, by all means, let me know. But that was the impression I got by the way people talked about it. Like, we had to bury them. Like, it sounded like they thought of that as like, we had to put them in the ground. Like, they didn't like that idea, which I can see because I'm more a cremation person myself.
Me too.
I'm totally gonna be cremated, made into a tree.
There you go. I just don't see a point in taking up dirt somewhere. Also, yeah, just a lot of things about it. But so they had to bury their loved ones, knowing it was a temporary thing, knowing that they would be pulled out later. I mean, you may not even know where half of your family is at that time. So people are dealing with like, okay, we're burying my mom temporarily. We're digging her up later, having a cremation. I don't even know if her sister's alive. I can't get a hold of her sister to tell her like all these
It's the
things.
cultural. It's when Albert from Twin Peaks says we gotta re-exhume Laura Palmer, and the whole town is like, are you kidding me? And Albert is like, go fuck yourself, you bunch of dumb hicks.
Well,
Hey, what's Twin Peaks?
It's a really good TV show. How have you not seen it? How have
it's on Netflix. You should check it out.
I know. I was hoping you'd be more
I'm
upset.
and you're gonna
because you guys went as characters for that like 2-3 years ago for Halloween.
2 or 3, yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, we're the coolest.
I also was dead Laura Palmer at Comic-Con.
I'm Superman. Yeah.
Not this last year because there wasn't one, but last
That
year.
was like 3 years ago. No, it was 2 years ago.
Well, last
yeah.
year at Comic-Con, I was also Laura Palmer, and it was really hot, and I got really sweaty and plastic. It was kind of gross, but people thought it was fun. Had to go home after a while. I was like, I think it's starting to smell. We're gonna go now. People were like wanting pictures with me, and I was like wrapped in plastic, dripping, and I was like, oh no.
You're like, I can smell my funk.
Like, don't hug
me.
That'd be bad.
If I shit myself in a concentric circle, how long would it take for you to smell it? Never mind. I'm gonna wear my mask underneath my nose.
Much about it that I'm so curious as if I just don't even want to ask.
No.
Have
like the thing is,
lately,
it'd be like it'd be an experiment. Like if you threw through a stink, if you threw a stink bomb at a Comic-Con, like
it already smells terrible.
I know.
In any place.
I know.
With those
That's
people.
what I'm saying.
Sweating, and it's just it's got a
there's
a smell. I'm sure.
Not even costume. Have you ever been to like a gaming convention of any size?
Just Comic-Cons.
There's a over by us, Heidi, up on Higley and Higley and.
All right, so we are an hour.
Starfighter Arcade.
We're an hour and 36 minutes into this recording.
We go off on tangents. It's fine. Anyways.
All right, so something about Higley.
Yeah, there's a sweet arcade called Starfighter Arcade.
Definitely got that smell.
And it smells terrible in there, but it's a sweet arcade, and it's $11, and you get 4 hours of unlimited play.
I'm just imagining like a locker room smell and playing like
worse,
and playing like Joust.
Yeah, it had everything.
With
they had Play Choice 10 machines, so much.
Anywho, if you were a fan of the old Unsolved Mysteries and you haven't given this a try yet, I would say don't be afraid to do it.
Oh, it's an improvement. There's no way to. There's.
Give it a try.
Just try it out. On such a classic, but it definitely has some very interesting stories. I saw all of the first season. I have not seen everything in the second season, but so far from what I've seen, the storytelling seems a lot better. There's a lot better interviews, especially the tsunami episode.
The production quality is actually astounding.
It was fantastic
and sympathetic, and it doesn't feel like the thing is a show like this that does like
it can be a little
spirits
if you're
and UFOs and stuff next to murder. It can seem almost exploitative.
For sure.
And this didn't.
No.
This felt memorializing, if anything else.
This episode, I heard about the tsunami when it happened. Everybody heard about it and was like, wow, that's tragic.
I remember
we all heard we all saw the CNN stuff of Fukushima.
Heard about it, we saw it. I even saw footage of people filming like on their cell phones, stuff happening. But this really puts you in the shoes of the people that experienced the tragedy, firsthand, secondhand. You really kind of got a glimpse into just how horrible it was and what these people had to deal with. And it's pretty heartbreaking. It's definitely one of the heavier episodes, but I would not skip this one. It's for sure something that I think everybody should watch for sure. Ghosts or not.
5 stars? 4 stars? How many stars?
4.5.
4.5?
No,
okay.
I give the whole series 5 stars overall.
Wait, 4 ghosts, 4.5 ghosts.
Give it 4.5 ghosts. I give it 5 ghosts.
5 full ghosts.
That was our ghost episode for spooky season. Maybe we'll try to fit in another episode for spooky ween time beforehand.
I can definitely talk about Dia de los Muertos. See, the thing I like the most about Dia de los Muertos is they don't say they see the spirits, they celebrate their spirits, and if they want, they can join them, and that's why they all wear their ghost masks and all their paintings, so they all blend in. I just think that's so cool and shit.
Yeah.
Let them sneak up.
Because it's just more, more my realism into it.
If I could wear a costume and talk to my dead relatives and like...
That'd be cool.
Yeah, I would be like, yes! And I'd be like, fuck you, you're a Nazi. Fuck you, you're a Nazi. Oh my God, you so got cheated. Like...
I'm sorry.
Heidi, I need you to isolate that yes. I need that to be the very opening of this episode.
I'm startled over here. Did you see my
Oh, such a good yes.
Sorry, how loud was that?
It wasn't so much.
Oh, you peaked, man. It was good.
I'm sorry all your relatives suck.
Some of them just do.
But I've been getting into the spirit of spooky season. I bought
Spoopy, yeah.
I bought these. Hexil.
You brought the Nectacell like licorice.
I got.
Is that black licorice?
So there's a different brand that I like better that are shaped like fish, but this packaging was like Halloween themed. Look at it, y'all can't see it. I'll post a picture. It's
that shit's gross. I don't care. Shut up.
Really?
No.
Yeah, it's like
no.
So
like
no.
I bought Jaeger in candy form.
Anyways,
yeah, when they eat vomit.
No, you're gonna really hate this.
It's wormwood.
It's actually like salty black licorice, so it's even weirder. And this one's a little bit much. Like I've had other brands that are really good.
I love taking a shot of salt. Is this like a tequila shot, but a shitty Jaeger version?
It's weirder because it's like a little salty on the outside, and then you get to the licorice part, and then the inside is filled with like weird salty shit. So like then it hits you again.
That's gross.
Yeah, I'll put some in a baggie and leave them outside your door and dare you to eat one.
I won't eat one.
If you don't.
I mean, I don't even like Twizzlers licorice. What the fuck?
Oh, I love Twizzlers.
Real like black licorice. It's very good. But these are much. No. But I'll post a picture because the packaging is so.
Heidi, how it's been 6 years. How did this happen? What the fuck?
I'm confused.
Since I've met you, how the fuck did this escape us?
I've always liked.
Oh, I've known Heidi's like black licorice since before she was out of high school.
Ah, no, it's like she's like, I have a candy corn and black licorice love.
Oh, shut the fuck up about candy corn, Nick. That shit is delicious.
I like candy corn, but I don't dislike it. Like I'll eat it if it's in front of me, but I just feel very.
I'm all about the candy corn.
I feel very neutral about candy corn.
I don't eat a lot of candy.
I wish I didn't.
I don't eat candy.
Candy corn.
I like candy corn. It's the grossest shit ever.
I know. I don't eat candy, but I like candy corn.
I've got so much candy on my desk right now.
No, I don't. The only candy I eat is maybe occasionally some like Reese's peanut butter cups or a Snickers.
I love
candy. Hoozleby.
Sour candy. Why are my teeth bad? Oh, I know.
Yeah, why do you need lower braces but not upper braces?
Because I lost my retainer when I was a kid. I did.
I'm sorry. I didn't want to bring teeth into this. You know, I'm an asshole about that.
I don't.
You know, because.
Yeah, I mean,
because if we're gonna do like the teeth thing,
I can't take it out. No.
I've never had braces, and I have perfect teeth.
I had braces above and below, and
damn,
that's why I have the fucking retainer thing, because it's like that ruined my bottom row.
I was sabotaged.
Damn, I'm sorry, guys.
That never left, and it's bigger than the smaller tooth that's supposed to be there.
That's cute.
Not really. It's been filled. It has no root. I don't know how it's still in there.
Yeah, they're like, it's for dear life.
So I mean, overcrowding, yay. That's what happens. See, when your orthodontist says, wear your retainer, kids, wear your retainer. Mine was in storage for 10 years.
Hey, have you guys ever heard of these guys on YouTube? They're a brand of music called Clowncore.
Yes, I have.
No.
I love them. They're so. It's so fucking weird.
Can we stop the episode?
Why? We're talking about spooky ween things. Well, we were, and then we talked about.
Yeah, Clowncore. Right. It's about a.
Right.
They're clowns.
What have you been doing for spooky?
I was trying to keep in the realm.
You're in the realm.
Been getting into the spirit, Nicholas?
Actually, no. I feel like it's still August.
Justin, besides clowncore, have you gotten into the spirit? Are you gonna dress up?
Probably not.
I have 2 pieces of
last year.
I have 2 pieces of costume in my Amazon wish list, but I also have. I know I'm the worst interrupter, but I also have the other half of the costume in my closet and downstairs.
Cool.
I was gonna go as Forrest Gump last year when I had long hair and the beard. I was gonna be running Forrest.
It happens.
You could have done it.
And I have the shoes too. I bought the red, white, and blue like Nike Corsos. Like I have them in the closet, ready to go.
Oh man, you just ran through a big pile of shit.
It happened. See, I even had his hat and everything. I was ready to go, man.
That movie's great.
I love that movie.
He gets to like fucking the. You should have driven north about 6 hours or 4 hours. Got to Monument Valley, turned around, and been like, "I'm gonna go home now."
That'd be a long drive.
Nicholas, you're very excited about your costume pieces. What was your costume?
What?
Huh? So you were so excited to tell us you have costume pieces. What was?
Snake Plissken from Escape from New York.
These are from the inaugural season.
We have to close out the episode.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I forgot. My bad. You can edit it out. You're good.
I'm good at this, but I'm probably gonna leave it in because it's kind of fun. All right, so that was our Halloween episode. Hopefully, we'll have time to throw in another Halloween episode to make up for, MIA. Sorry, family shit happened a lot.
What you should keep doing is
keep the campfire
burning.
Bye.
Bye.